Welcome back to our channel, dear viewers. Before we dive into the fascinating journey of Dr. Dan, let's start this video with a moment of prayer. We pray for the protection and well-being of our viewers and subscribers. May the upcoming year 2024 bring you peace, joy, and prosperity. We are grateful for your continued support and interest in our content. Now, fasten your seatbelts as we delve into the extraordinary, life-altering experience of a well-respected physician, Dr. Dan, who had a brush with death that forever changed his perception of life and beyond. Imagine being on the brink of death, teetering in the abyss, and suddenly you're enveloped in an ethereal calmness. This is where our story begins on a fateful night with Dr. Dan. In a small, serene town lived a well-respected physician, Dr. Dan. His life was about to be profoundly transformed by an experience that would reshape his understanding of life and, indeed, the afterlife. As a young boy, Dan faced a life-threatening situation. A severe allergic reaction to penicillin caused his lungs to fill with fluid. As his body fought to breathe, the world around him darkened, and he found himself on the precipice of death. Picture a young boy gasping for air, his world fading into nothingness. The room around him blurs, and the voices of the doctors and nurses become distant echoes. His heart pounds in his chest, each beat a desperate plea for life. His vision narrows, his eyes heavy, and as the darkness begins to engulf him, he is plunged into a world beyond the physical. In the throes of this terrifying ordeal, Dan experienced something extraordinary. Amidst the struggle, the fear, and the pain, he felt a sudden shift. His spirit, like a feather caught in a gust of wind, detached from his physical body. It began to ascend, drawn towards a mesmerizing white light at the end of a long, dark tunnel. As he moved closer to the light, the earthly fears that had held him captive began to melt away. They were replaced by an overwhelming sense of peace, a feeling akin to returning home after a long, weary journey. This was not a dream. It was not a hallucination. It was a profound shift in consciousness that transcended the boundaries of the physical world. It was a glimpse into another realm, a realm where physical identities and worldly constraints held no significance. In this terrifying moment, Dan experienced a remarkable shift in consciousness. What lay ahead was a journey beyond the physical, a journey that would forever change Dr. Dan's perception of life, death, and the interconnectedness of all existence. As he laid there, Dan felt his spirit detached from his physical body. It was as if he was in two places at once, both within and beyond his earthly form. His spirit, now free, began to ascend, drawn like a moth to the mesmerizing white light at the end of a long, dark tunnel. He began his journey into the unknown. The tunnel was not frightening but welcoming, like a gateway to another realm. It was a path devoid of fear, leading him towards a radiance that was both compelling and comforting. This was not a journey to be feared, but one to be embraced. As Dan moved closer to the light, he felt a profound shift. His earthly fears and concerns, which had once seemed so significant, began to melt away. They were replaced by an overwhelming sense of peace, a tranquility that calmed his spirit and filled him with a warmth that he had never experienced before. It was a sensation of returning home, of reuniting with a part of himself that he had forgotten. This was not an ordinary light. It was not merely a visual phenomenon, but a source of immense love and acceptance. It was a beacon of pure, divine energy that enveloped him, erasing all his fears, doubts, and anxieties. The closer he moved to the light, the more intense the feelings of love and peace became. In this ethereal realm, Rod's perception of time and space dissolved. Seconds felt like hours, and distances that would have been insurmountable in physical reality appeared insignificant. He was no longer bound by the constraints of the physical world. He was free, floating in a space where time held no power. In those moments, Dan experienced a profound understanding of the interconnectedness of all life. He felt deeply connected to the universe, as if he was a part of an intricate web of energy that bound everything together. He realized that in the grand scheme of existence, all living beings were interconnected, part of a divine whole. Dan's earthly fears dissolved, replaced by an understanding of the interconnectedness of all life. This profound realization was the first step on his spiritual journey, a journey that would transform his life and reshape his understanding of the world. Suddenly, Dr. Dan was back, his spirit violently pulled back into his physical form. Imagine the shock, the stark contrast between serenity and a jarring return to reality. One moment, Dr. Dan was on the cusp of entering an ethereal world of peace, and the next, he was back in his physical body, gasping for breath in a sterile hospital room. Dr. Dan's return to consciousness was not without its surprises. As he recovered, he realized he had been profoundly changed by his brush with death. He had been gifted with extraordinary abilities, the kind that most people only dream of. His spirit now had the ability to travel beyond the confines of his physical body. He was able to explore his surroundings, observing the world from a unique, ethereal perspective. And there was more. Dr. Dan discovered that he could see divine colors emanating from people's hearts. These colors were not just a visual spectacle, but a representation of people's spiritual states. Different hues indicated varying levels of love, life, and intelligence. It was as if he had been granted a window into people's souls. But perhaps the most profound change was his deepened connection to the divine. Dr. Dan could feel an intense oneness with all that exists. It was a spiritual bond that transcended the physical world, connecting him to the vast tapestry of life and existence. This connection was so powerful, so overwhelming, that it infused him with a sense of peace and love that he had never known before. These newfound abilities were not just gifts, but tools for understanding the world better. They allowed Dr. Dan to perceive the world and its challenges with greater compassion and understanding. His near-death experience had not only given him a glimpse of the afterlife, but also equipped him with the wisdom to navigate his earthly existence. Dr. Dan awakening was not just a return to life. It was an awakening to a new way of being, a new way of seeing the world. His journey through the brink of death and back had transformed him. His brush with death had left him with a profound connection to the divine and an ability to astral travel. With his newfound gifts, Dr. Dan began to perceive the world in a unique light. Imagine, if you will, the ability to navigate the world not just physically, but spiritually. This extraordinary gift of astral travel allowed Rod to explore his surroundings with a clarity most of us can only dream of. He began to see the world from an ethereal perspective, one unbound by the physical constraints we are so accustomed to. Now imagine seeing colors in a way not dictated by the visible spectrum, but by the very essence of the individual. Dan discovered he could see divine colors, a vibrant array of hues emanating from people's hearts. These colors, he found, represented their spiritual states. The radiant blues, the passionate reds, the tranquil greens, all indicating varying degrees of love, life, and intelligence. But his journey didn't stop there. Dan's astral travels led him to a deeper understanding of life and death. He began to see them not as opposing forces, but as complementary aspects of our existence. Life and death, he realized, are but two sides of the same coin, each leading us to a deeper understanding of our very being. And through this understanding, Dan's approach to life began to evolve. His perception of the world around him, once shaped by the tangible, was now influenced by the intangible. He saw beyond the physical, beyond the superficial, and into the very soul of existence. He began to approach life with a sense of compassion and understanding previously unknown to him. He found himself connecting more deeply with the divine presence, feeling an overwhelming sense of peace and love. This connection allowed him to perceive the world and its challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth and learning. He saw the world not as it is, but as it could be, filled with love, forgiveness, and spiritual growth. This unique perspective allowed him to approach life with greater compassion and understanding. Through his journey, Rod offered us a glimpse into the infinite possibilities that lie beyond our physical realm, reminding us that while our physical lives may be transient, our spiritual journey is eternal. Dan's near-death experience had painted a picture of the afterlife as a realm of infinite light and peace. This profound understanding, however, was not to be kept under wraps. Dan felt a calling, a deep-seated desire to share his newfound wisdom and insights with the world. With an open heart, Dan began to share his experiences. He spoke of his journey, the mesmerizing light, the dissolution of time and space, and the overwhelming sense of peace. He revealed how this experience had gifted him with an extraordinary ability to perceive the divine colors of the soul, and to travel astrally, exploring the world from a unique ethereal perspective. But it wasn't just about the journey. It was also about the lessons learned, the messages gleaned from the brink of the afterlife. Dan spoke of love, the purest and most potent force in the universe. He emphasized the importance of forgiveness, of letting go of the resentments and grievances that weigh us down in our physical existence. He taught about spiritual growth, about the need to nurture our souls, to connect more deeply with the divine presence. He urged his listeners to perceive the world and its tribulations with greater compassion and understanding. His story serves as a powerful reminder that our physical lives are transient, but our spiritual journey is eternal. And it's within this journey that we find the true essence of our existence, a deep-seated connection with all that is divine and eternal. Before we continue on this journey, let's take a moment to reflect. Let's absorb the profound wisdom that Dan has shared with us. Let's allow it to resonate within our hearts, to instigate a ripple of change in our perspective. Let's take a deep breath, close our eyes, and imagine the divine colors of the soul, the infinite light, the overwhelming sense of peace. Let's envision ourselves on this spiritual journey, embarking on an expedition beyond the physical constraints, towards the divine. As we conclude this video, let's end with a prayer. We pray for your continued protection and blessings. If you agree with this prayer, please leave a comment below. This moment of reflection serves as a bridge, connecting us with the divine, reminding us of our spiritual journey and preparing us for the call to action that lies ahead. Dan's story is a testament to the transformative power of near-death experiences. A brush with death opened the door to a realm of profound insights for Rod. He journeyed through the shadow of death, only to be reborn with new eyes that could perceive the divine in the everyday. His near-death experience became a catalyst for spiritual growth, leading him down a path of meditation, compassion, and deep connection. The ability to astral travel, to see divine colors emanating from people's hearts. These were not just gifts, but tools, enabling him to understand life and its challenges with greater empathy and clarity. Dan's journey into the afterlife painted a beautiful picture of an existence beyond physical constraints, a place of infinite light and peace. His experiences served as a reminder that our earthly lives are but fleeting moments in the grand tapestry of existence. The true essence of our being, our spirit, remains untouched by the trials of the physical world, forever journeying towards the divine. Dan's story is not an end, but a beginning of a journey towards understanding the interconnectedness of all life, towards living a life filled with love, forgiveness, and spiritual growth. If you're intrigued by tales of spiritual journeys and insights into the afterlife, consider subscribing to our channel